What's shakin' bacons? I thought today we could talk about some interesting Star Wars news that has been circulating over the past month or so. I've had people ask me about it, and I thought, why not have like a little Star Wars news discussion? The first thing I wanted to talk about, because I've had so many people bring it up to me, is J.J. Abrams making commentary on the fact that people who don't like The Last Jedi are threatened by women. Based on what I have seen about this, it seems to me like within the context of when he was asked this question, he was asked about it in response to a very small alt-right group that claimed to be responsible for all of the bad score on Rotten Tomatoes and all of the bad user feedback. The reality is this is a very small group, and that group has actually said that the reason why they didn't like it is because there are women in it, and why are you putting more women in Star Wars? Women are ruining Star Wars. I believe, from what I have been given to understand, J.J. Abrams' comments were specifically directed at that small group of people. I don't think generalizing it and saying that he was talking about everyone that hated The Last Jedi. If he was, and if I have misunderstood the articles that I've read, then it's not good that he's generalizing this. There's a lot of people that hated this movie. It's still standing at 48% audience score on Rotten Tomatoes. Most people have demonstrated that they don't like this movie. This movie had the biggest drop-off in terms of moviegoers. The merchandise is not selling. If I am misunderstanding the context in which Abrams was asked this question, and he was just saying that as a generalized statement, anyone who doesn't like this movie is anti-feminist, it's not good to make a generality like that, obviously. And it's not accurate. I mean, look at me, for God's sake. Do you guys think I'm threatened by women? I am a woman. I hated this movie. If you're familiar with my channel and you've seen my reviews and the things that I have talked about in relation to The Last Jedi, you know by now that I cannot stand this movie. Because it's not that they introduced women. The simple fact is they abandoned their storyline, they abandoned character development, they abandoned any kind of plot continuity and series continuity when concocting this ridiculous plot line that doesn't even feel like it's part of the Star Wars universe. Visually, sure. Otherwise, no. So if Abrams' statements are as a blanket statement toward every Star Wars fan who didn't like this movie because they don't like women, I think that's very false, and I think it's a deflection. A lot of people will try and put the focus on someone else in order to distract attention from an actual issue that's going on. Like when I was younger, you know, if I broke something of my parents and my parents came to me and they were like, "Did you break this?" I'd be like, well, brother broke that thing. You know, it's just a deflection. Next item of news. This is also kind of old. Rian Johnson says Backlash to The Last Jedi gave him a dark hour of the soul. This is an interesting article. It's where Rian Johnson had to be living under a rock to not figure out that there were people that were very unhappy with this movie. I am one of them.
I'm not surprised that
Rian Johnson is a little He'd have to be living under a rock not to know about the petition to remove it from Star Wars lore. Basically, he whines a lot in this article by the IndieWire.com. He whines a lot and he's like, well, you know, not everybody hated it and it was just a very small amount of people that didn't like it. What he fails to realize is the score is still abysmal. This has been the worst performing Star Wars movie that is supposed to be a major part of the saga ever. They're not selling merchandise. They've completely destroyed and ignored their entire primary historical fan base, which is what made Star Wars as popular as it is. Doing a wonderful series of horrible writing and horrible directing, and completely ignoring the fact that he's done so. Johnson just continues to prove to me what an egomaniac he is. How can you look at a score like Rotten Tomatoes and realize it's at 48% and then still try and delude yourself that because the critics that I personally feel Disney probably paid off, because if you haven't heard, Disney has a history of threatening entire publication sources and people when they don't write or act in a way that Disney approves of. How can you see that and still think that you did a good job? The article goes on and it says he wouldn't make any meaningful changes. So essentially he's saying, I still approve and like the plot and everything I put together. To which I am just kind of flabbergasted. Maybe he's trying to save face. Maybe Kathleen Kennedy told him to save face. Maybe he's just trying to, you know, retain his reputation. What I would be really interested in is just to watch and see what he does going forward. Is anyone going to give him work going forward? If so, is it going to be something like this? You know, are they still going to give him those 3 movies that he was promised after the terrible performance of The Last Jedi? Seriously? Like, you've got a problem, and for you to not acknowledge that is another huge problem. Idiot. The next bit of Star Wars news we can talk about is also related to Rian Johnson, of course, because it is Star Wars. But it's mainly related to Rian Johnson in that it has to deal with plagiarism. I have talked previously about how there are rumors and conjecture and almost word-for-word parallels drawn between large chunks of Johnson's script and popular fan fiction. There's a new bit of news that has come out today that Disney has been accused of plagiarism for the new Solo film. Not in the writing department, but in the graphics department. Let's just do a sample here. I'm on Gizmodo. Let me just actually pull up the pictures and show you. There is a French artist who came up with a bunch of posters. After Disney released the Solo posters, wow, those things look almost identical, including the font style and the size and the background and the color scheme, which is really, I want to say it's surprising at this point, but let's be honest, it's not surprising. So the artist is Hakim Baous, and I probably just absolutely murdered this poor man's name. But it looks as though if Disney was not inspired by this man's artwork, that's one heck of a coincidence because they are very similar. And he said, I'm flattered the quality of my work is recognized, but it is still pure and simple forgery. I have not been asked for my permission. I wish to be credited and paid for this work I have done. So that's, you know, that's a real thing. Looks like Star Wars may have found itself caught in another plagiarism story, which is just wonderful. You know, whoever made that decision is probably just hitting themselves right now, or else someone else is yelling at them or tearing them a new one right now. Because after all the stuff that's come out recently about Rian Johnson, the last thing Disney needs is more plagiarism or improper use accusations of other artists' work. Just to, even in terms of if they can pay these people and settle things, it's very damaging to their reputation and to the reputation of the production. So that's kind of like a, yeah, okay. Good job, guys. The last bit of news, of course, I'm sure you've all heard by now that J.J. Abrams finished the script for episode 9. Now, the thing to bear in mind with this is that scripts are never truly final until the movie comes out. I had a lot of people comment on my original video where I talked about the similarities between Rian Johnson's script for The Last Jedi and between fan fiction. I had a lot of very angry people be like, that script was finished before, blah, 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 blah. Scripts are never finished until the movie is out. You guys need to understand this. If you're one of those people that commented that to me, I need you to understand this. Movies go through reshoots, rewrites, things change on set, things change during production. Oftentimes they'll be filming, the director and the writers will realize that there is a problem with something, or something needs to be tweaked or updated or changed. The script is a living beast. It does not get put to pasture until the movie is released. That is how movies are made. And if you think otherwise, you are deluding yourself. I am sure that there are movies here and there that actually retain the same script from when they initially write it to the end of release, but those movies are few and very far between. Most movies, by nature of the fact that things change, the times change, production changes, the studio changes, actors change, maybe there's improv, maybe there needs to be tweaks done in different areas. These things change. They are not set in stone. With that being said, I doubt that his script is finished. Does it bode well that it was finished so soon after The Last Jedi came out? I don't know. The reason I say I don't know, personally, if I was J.J. Abrams and I put all of that time and energy and work into The Force Awakens, and I knew that the pressure was on me to open the first chapter of the new Star Wars trilogy, and I knew that the pressure was on me to establish a good villain, you know, a good anti-hero, a good hero, new characters to introduce a new generation to Star Wars and still keep old Star Wars fans as part of an integral foundation of the fan base. It's a lot of pressure, and I would know that I would put in every effort I could into making it work and to making it good and to making sure that I was establishing for an arc that stable development, those storylines and those characters and those plot threads. If it were me and I was J.J. Abrams and I saw The Last Jedi and I saw Rian Johnson, who in comparison to J.J. Abrams really is like comparing, if you want to use a high school analogy, it's comparing like a senior in high school to like a freshman. J.J. Abrams is a very well-established director. Rian Johnson has directed movies before, obviously. He has done some decent films like Looper, obviously. Is he within the same tier as J.J. Abrams? I would argue that no, he's not. Compared to J.J. Abrams, he's several rungs down the ladder in terms of skill and experience. If I was J.J. Abrams and I saw The Last Jedi and I saw the equivalent of a freshman director looking at the rungs between them, using our high school analogy, if I saw him basically give every plot thread that I set up a big old middle finger, I would be pissed. I would be very mad. I would probably go back to my studio or back to work and I would freaking rage write a solution to every plot thread as a sort of middle finger back to him. That's just me though. I am aware that J.J. Abrams has said that he enjoyed The Last Jedi, but I am also aware that Mark Hamill also retracted everything he had said about it. Although Mark Hamill has also come out recently and said in his head, Luke's still alive. My point is, the director and possibly Mark Hamill have Disney and have Lucasfilms and have Kathleen Kennedy breathing down their necks. They have probably been told to save face and to do damage control. That's my first theory. My first theory is that he was PO'd and he went home and he rage wrote the entire script and just like beasted it out to get it done and get it taken care of and solve any plot holes. Bear in mind too that he also is co-writing this. He co-wrote it with Chris Terrio, who was one of the writers on Argo and was one of the writers on Batman vs. Superman, Dawn of Justice, which wasn't that great. If we all remember, it was kind of... My theory is that he rage wrote it. The other theory is that after seeing the script for The Last Jedi, as they started production, he took it and he started outlining and framing what he thought he could do in order to work with it and make it work. The last theory, which would unfortunately be devastating, is that he's just kind of gone off and done his thing. What I cannot understand is why, if you have a series and a saga as sensationally large and with as big of a fan base as Star Wars has, that you would start filming these movies and writing the overarching story one film at a time without working on it together. I don't get that. That's not good writing. That's not good directing. That's not good production. That's a stupid thing to do. It's stupid. Stupid, 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 stupid. It is a stupid thing to do. I would hope that J.J. Abrams at least has taken the script and done his best to connect it to The Force Awakens. And hey, maybe we'll be able to just at least, even if Disney will not publicly acknowledge the failure of The Last Jedi, because they can deny it all they want, it was a failure for them. It was a financial failure. Perhaps if J.J. Abrams can ignore or push away enough of The Last Jedi and connect it to The Force Awakens, maybe we can just skip The Last Jedi. maybe we can all collectively just pretend it didn't happen. Maybe what we can do is pretend they never found Luke on the island and that Rey was still in the depths of her lightsaber vision from The Force Awakens. God, guys, how are they gonna resurrect this? I don't know. I'm getting desperately depressed as I talk about this. We will see. And last but not least, Solo. Is anyone still excited? Everybody wishes that there was a Lando movie. Maybe Disney will acknowledge that the Solo thing is not going to go anywhere and give us a Lando film. Maybe. Maybe. I don't know. What do you guys think? How do you feel about all these things? What are your thoughts? Tell me in the comments below. I do read all of your comments. I want you guys to know that. And I do my best to, if I don't respond to them, I try and thumbs them up. I really do pay attention to what you guys tell me. And yeah. I hope you guys are having a good week. Let's keep our fingers crossed. Hopefully Star Wars can somehow be resurrected. Although at this point, I mean, let's just hope J.J. Abrams gives us a new hope, literally. Remember, if you guys want to see me gaming or you want to interact with me live, you can catch me on Twitch Monday, Wednesday, Fridays at 7:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I am there usually a little early, mostly almost always on time. If you guys want a chance to talk to me, ask me questions in real time, you can always catch me over there. I have also been asked if I ever do live streams on YouTube. The answer is no, I don't. The reason for that is YouTube so far has not been very friendly to me as a streamer. I've had a lot of comments on my reaction to how The Last Jedi should have ended, about why did I cut and edit everything. And again, it's because, guys, anytime I do any sort of reaction, YouTube flags my videos and copyright blocks them before I even schedule them or before I even hit publish. YouTube's been very harsh on me. If you want to see me live and you want to see me interact with you and answer your questions and you want to hang out with me, come join me on Twitch. Hopefully, if YouTube figures out what's going on with their management and with any kind of changes that are happening, I will be able to do YouTube live streams in the future. You can always also find me on Steemit or DTube. I do post updates on my Twitter when I'm going to be going live on Twitch, so if you want to keep track, make sure you know when I'm going live. You can follow me on Twitter. And if you do have any questions for me, feel free to ask. You can also ask in the comments below. You guys have a great week, and I will catch you later. Bye.